For centuries, we have treated ancient symbols as artifacts of aesthetics or religious expression. To understand them systematically, we must treat them as functional engineering. The symbol conductivity framework proposes a specific mechanism. Cultural symbols act as functional operators. They map chronic environmental stress to the regulation of the physical body. We must subject this theoretical framework to rigid epistemological testing. It requires explicit null models and pre-registered kill criteria. If the data fails these structured checks, the hypothesis is rejected. We start with null model 1, the assumption of pure symbolism. This model argues that eye motifs are exclusively religious, and any medical utility is incidental. Narrative coherence is no longer accepted as proof to defeat this. To accurately map human cultural evolution, we have to stop reading artifacts as art and start calculating them as datasets designed to survive physical boundary stress. We use ancient Egypt as a high-resolution testbed to validate this model. The chronic environmental stressor in this region is geographical dust. It operates mechanically as an irritant and biologically as a potential bioaerosol carrier. To mitigate this stress, the population built a physical interface layer, the human eyelid, treated with black coal formulations. This physical interface is governed by a cosmological operator. The Wedjat, or Eye of Horus, encodes a strict logic of cyclical repair and bodily restoration. The environmental grain, the physical eyelid, and the cosmological symbol form our operational triad. We now subject this map to its structural kill tests. Null Model 2 assumes that ancient medical texts are random recipe noise. We must test whether these texts are an assortment of ingredients or if they operate as a structured procedural compiler. This is our primary textual corpus, the Ebers Papyrus. Specifically, we analyze the iBook section, spanning entries 336 through 431. We are querying this data for an action topology, a specific recurring grammar that dictates exactly where and how a practitioner manipulates the physical bodily boundary. This shows our operator frequency scan. We isolate textual commands into two exact columns: generic preparation verbs, like grind or cook, and eye-targeting placement operators, like paint, back, or in. The corpus-wide baseline shows that generic operators are scattered uniformly across the entire papyrus. However, eye-specific placement operators aggressively cluster into a defined block exclusively within the iBook entries. Non-eye sections rely almost entirely on generic targets. A pilot scan of these entries reveals a stabilized material grammar. They combine a carrier layer, like honey or fat, with a mineral layer, such as malachite or galena. Strict translation boundaries are applied to prevent keyword survivorship bias. A single anatomical phrase is only coded as an operator when the text explicitly distinguishes it from a generic placement. The text survives the first kill test. The iBook is not recipe noise. It is a formalized, non-trivial protocol compiler built for ocular boundary maintenance. We shift the framework from theoretical text to physical archaeology. To prove this system functioned, we map it to the lived reality of Deir el-Medina, the community of Theban tomb builders. The British Museum's administrative absence register for these specific workers explicitly tracks eye trouble as a statistically frequent illness category. In Ostrakhan Berlin P11247, a blind worker named Pei requests a specific remedy kit from his son, honey, ochre, and real black galena. This exactly matches the Ebers Papyrus triad. This introduces Kill Test 2. Null Models 3 and 5 argue that the black coal interface is merely a cosmetic status item reserved for the elite. This table quantifies mortuary distribution to defeat the wealth confound, utilizing excavation data from the Bruyère East Cemetery report. We track binary hits for coal tubes, vessels, and galena sachets. We apply rigorous denominator bounds to this specific subsection, identifying exactly 26 inventory tombs. Explicit coal and toilet items occur in 11 of those locations, confirming a 42.3. Physical boundary defense was a community-level habit that extended straight into the funerary landscape. We then face a transmission problem. How is this structured cultural knowledge carried through mortuary spaces, where physical vision is restricted or closed entirely? Audition operates as a temporal scanning operator. Sound carries segmented symbolic structure, replacing a spatial image with recurrence and resonance. Harpist sogs, performative compositions repeatedly found in tomb imagery, are our candidate conduits for this transmission. Kill Test 3 relies on physical mechanics. If these harpist scenes are pure visual tropes and the physical spaces are acoustically dead, the conduit theory collapses. Primary empirical validation exists in modern directional room impulse response measurements taken in the Dendara Genpal. These scans prove ancient enclosed architecture contained highly differentiated, measurable acoustic volumes. We transfer this model to mortuary settings using acoustic simulations of early dynastic tombs in Saqqara. The Saqqara simulations report 25 to 35 decibels of exterior attenuation. The architecture creates an isolated, highly reverberant chamber suited perfectly for resonance. Future physical field testing requires strict pre-registered confounds to account for modern HVAC systems or tourist occupancy, which alter base reverberation times. Ultimately, the acoustic channel presents a mechanically coherent, physically capable non-visual gate for successfully transmitting these essential symbolic packets across generations. We evaluate the complete interface triad by scoring the empirical strength of each tested variable against its potential failure states. This diagram scores the data. The grain-to-eyelid coupling registers as strong, verified by the exact overlap of the administrative register and occupational ostraca. The eyelid-to-mortuary coupling also registers as strong, supported by the rigorous quantification of the East Cemetery gravegoods. The eyelid-to-symbol coupling holds at medium strong, anchored by the artifact record connecting chemical cosmetic layers to apotropaic iconography. The string-to-mortuary link currently scores as weak medium. It requires localized in-situ acoustic data verification to advance further. The Egypt testbed provisionally passes its required kill tests. We have quantified these symbols as measurable physical boundary operators. This data indicates the language compiler framework works effectively as a predictive model for cultural evolution. Ancient religious motifs are not random aesthetic mutations. Human civilizations encode their most vital survival technologies directly into their sacred symbols, turning physical defense mechanisms against a hostile environment into highly stabilized architectures of belief.